Have you ever woken up, looked at the day ahead, and realized you were already out of gas before your feet even hit the floor? It is a specific kind of heavy. It's not just being tired from a bad night's sleep. It's a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that stays with you no matter how many hours you rest. You find yourself staring at a simple task, like deciding what to make for dinner or choosing a pair of shoes. And it feels like trying to solve a massive puzzle. You aren't lazy, and you aren't failing. Your body is simply running on empty, trying to signal that the tank has been completely drained. When you are living with this level of depletion, the world feels incredibly loud, fast, and intensely overwhelming. You watch people around you moving through their days with ease, laughing, making plans, and tackling their to-do lists. And you feel like you are watching them through a thick pane of glass. You wonder how they do it. You wonder when life became something you had to survive rather than something you get to live. Every obligation feels like a mountain you are being forced to climb without any shoes. Even the things you used to enjoy, reading a book, calling a friend, or sitting out on the porch, now just feel like more items on a list of things you don't have the strength to do. This weight doesn't just live in your mind. It settles deep into your physical self. Your limbs feel like they are made of concrete. Your eyelids are heavy, yet when you close them, your mind won't stop spinning. It is a state of constant, quiet desperation, where you are too tired to move, but too wired to actually rest. You find yourself sitting on the edge of the bed for 20 minutes, just staring at the wall, unable to summon the momentum to take the next step. You carry a quiet grief for the person you used to be, the person who had spark, enthusiasm, and drive. Now, you feel like a ghost inhabiting your own life, going through the motions because you have to, but completely disconnected from the joy of it. We try so hard to hide this from the world. We put on a brave face. We smile when someone asks how we are, and we say we are just a bit tired. But deep down, you know it is so much more than that. It is the exhaustion of carrying a load that was never meant for one person to bear for this long. It is the result of months, maybe years, of pushing through, ignoring the warning signs, and prioritizing everyone else's needs above your own. Your nervous system has finally reached its limit. It has turned down the volume on everything just to keep you from breaking completely. It is incredibly important to understand that this state of being is not a character flaw. It is a physiological reality. When you are this empty, even small decisions become excruciating. Choosing between two different routes to work can cause a wave of anxiety. Watching a simple television show can feel like too much information for your brain to process. You start to withdraw, not because you don't care about the people in your life, but because you literally do not have the currency to pay for a conversation. You are bankrupt of energy, and every single interaction feels like an expense you cannot afford. If you are feeling this right now, I want you to take a long, deep breath and just let it out. You do not have to fix this in the next 5 minutes. You do not have to figure out how you are going to handle next week, or next month, or the rest of the year. All you have to do right now is acknowledge the weight. Stop fighting the fatigue. Stop mad at yourself for being tired. Your body is not failing you. It is actually looking out for you by forcing you to slow down. It is screaming for a break because it loves you too much to let you keep running until you completely collapse. Let the armor drop just for a moment. Acknowledge that you are spent, and know that this realization is the exact place where the path to true healing begins. We live in a world that constantly asks us to keep up, to react, and to stay on high alert. Over time, that constant pressure acts like a car alarm that gets stuck in the on position. Every small disruption feels like a major crisis. A sudden loud noise, an unexpected text message, or a change in plans doesn't just annoy you. It makes your heart race and your chest tighten. When your internal wiring is overridden like this, you can't just tell yourself to calm down. The logic center of your brain knows you are safe, but the physical self is still bracing for an impact that never comes. Living this way means your body is constantly flooded with stress, even when you are just sitting on the couch trying to relax. You could be wrapping up a quiet evening, ready to finally find some peace, when a sudden notification lights up your phone screen. Objectively, it is just a message from a colleague or a reminder about a bill due next week. But to your exhausted nervous system, it feels like an immediate threat. Your stomach drops, your breathing becomes shallow, and a wave of heat rushes through your veins. You are trapped in a loop where your body cannot tell the difference between a minor daily inconvenience and an actual emergency. This state of perpetual alertness is exhausting because it never lets you truly rest. Even when you sleep, your muscles remain tense. You wake up with a clenched jaw, a tight neck, and fists that were balled up all through the night. Your system is working overtime, guarding a perimeter that isn't actually under attack. Because you are always waiting for the next problem to drop, you lose the ability to feel safe in the quiet moments. Silence no longer feels peaceful. It feels ominous, like the calm before a storm. You find yourself anticipating the next bad piece of news, the next demand, or the next disappointment, because your body believes that letting your guard down is the most dangerous thing you could do. When your internal alarm is stuck on, your tolerance for the world shrinks to almost nothing. You might find yourself snapping at the people you love over completely trivial matters. A dropped fork in the kitchen, or a slight delay at a traffic light, can trigger a wave of intense irritation or sudden tears. Afterward, a heavy layer of guilt settles over you. You think, why did I react like that? It wasn't a big deal, but it felt like a big deal to your body. Your system is already carrying so much tension that it has absolutely no room left to absorb even a single drop of extra stress. The cup is already full to the brim. Any tiny movement causes it to spill over. This constant state of high alert changes how you view your entire life. You begin to see every conversation as a potential conflict, every task as a trap, and every day as a battlefield you have to survive. It isolates you. You start avoiding certain places, turning down invitations, and stepping back from responsibilities, not because you have lost interest in life, but because your body is desperately begging for a break from the noise. It is trying to protect itself from further stimulation, trying to create a cocoon where the alarm might finally stop ringing. If you are trapped in this loop today, please know that you are not losing your mind, and you are not becoming an irritable, impatient person. This is simply what happens when a human system has been pushed past its capacity for too long. Your body is doing exactly what it was designed to do under extreme pressure. It is trying to keep you safe. The tragedy is that it just doesn't know how to turn the alarm off anymore. Healing this isn't about fighting the panic or forcing yourself to be calm. It is about gently showing your body, through tiny moments of softness and reassurance, that the immediate danger has passed, and that it is finally safe to step down from the watchtower. To keep moving, we build walls and adopt habits to shield ourselves. Maybe you have noticed that you constantly scroll through your phone, looking at random articles or videos, not because you are interested, but because it stops you from having to think. Or perhaps you find yourself overscheduling your weekends, running from one social gathering to another, because standing still feels too uncomfortable. We try to outrun the fatigue by staying busy, thinking that if we just keep moving, the exhaustion won't catch up to us. But running on fumes only takes us further away from the quiet we actually need. We call these habits coping mechanisms, but if we are being completely honest with ourselves, they are often just illusions. They are clever masks we wear to convince the world and ourselves that we are managing just fine. You might find yourself meticulously organizing a closet, spending hours rearranging items on a shelf, or obsessing over a minor household project. On the surface, it looks like productivity. It looks like you have your life together. But beneath that frantic activity, it is a desperate attempt to find a sense of control in a world that feels completely overwhelming. You control the closet because you cannot control the deep, aching tiredness inside your chest. These illusions create a strange paradox. We are absolutely terrified of stopping, yet we are too exhausted to keep going. So, we find ourselves stuck in a middle ground of numbing behaviors. You sit on the couch with a television show playing in the background, while simultaneously playing a game on your phone, filling every single sensory channel with noise. You aren't actually absorbing the show, and you aren't genuinely enjoying the game. You are just creating a wall of static to drown out the quiet voice inside you that is begging for real, deep rest. We treat our bodies like a machine with a flashing warning light, and instead of pulling over to fix the engine, we just put a piece of tape over the light so we don't have to look at it. We mistake numbing for resting, and we mistake distraction for peace. True rest leaves you feeling restored, but these illusions leave you feeling even more depleted. You spend a whole evening trying to escape your thoughts, only to go to bed feeling hollow and disconnected. You find yourself overcommitting to help others, taking on tasks for a neighbor, or agreeing to organize a community event, because staying focused on other people's lives means you don't have to face the emptiness in your own. It feels safer to be needed than to admit that you are completely helpless to fix your own exhaustion. You become a caretaker for everyone else while your own inner house is neglected. This constant dodging of our true feelings takes an immense amount of energy. It is exhausting to pretend to be okay. It is draining to keep the distractions going so tightly that not a single moment of quiet can slip through. You become hyper-vigilant about keeping the momentum alive because you know that the moment the music stops, the sheer weight of your fatigue will come crashing down on you. So you keep driving, you keep scheduling, you keep scrolling, and you keep talking, ignoring the fact that you are moving further and further away from the safety of the shore. If you recognize yourself in these behaviors, please treat yourself with immense kindness. You did not develop these habits because you are weak or foolish. You developed them to survive. When the internal pain of exhaustion is too great to handle, our minds naturally look for emergency exits. Distraction was the only way you knew how to keep your head above water. But you cannot heal by continuing to run away. True relief doesn't come from finding a better way to distract yourself. It comes from having the courage to gently drop the illusions, turn off the extra noise, and face the quiet. It means allowing yourself to feel just how tired you really are, without trying to fix it, change it, or escape it. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But becoming who you are requires you to stop running and actually look at where you are standing. It means acknowledging that you cannot keep pretending everything is fine when it isn't. When we are completely spent, meeting ourselves honestly can feel incredibly intimidating. We worry that if we let our guard down, we might completely fall apart. Yet, admitting that you are tired is not a defeat. It is the very first step toward building a foundation that can actually support you. To meet yourself in the midst of total exhaustion is perhaps one of the bravest things you will ever do. It requires you to sit quietly in a room with no distractions, no phone, and no plans, and simply ask, how am I really doing? For a long time, the answer to that question might have been too painful to face. When you finally stop the frantic pace, what rushes in isn't always immediate peace. Often, it is a wave of profound sadness, a realization of how long you have been neglecting your own heart, and a deep sense of grief for the time spent living on autopilot. It takes immense courage to sit with that discomfort without rushing to fix it or hide from it. We live in a culture that treats vulnerability as a flaw, convincing us that we must always present a polished, unbreakable version of ourselves to the world. We feel we must be the perfect worker, the unshakable family member, or the friend who always has it together. Because of this, meeting your true self, the part of you that is weeping from fatigue, the part that wants to drop everything and rest, feels like a betrayal of those roles. You worry that if you acknowledge your true limitations, people will think less of you, or worse, you will think less of yourself. But true strength is not found in carrying a heavy load until you snap. True strength is having the honesty to say, I cannot carry this anymore. I am at my limit. When we ignore our true state, we split ourselves in two. The person we pretend to be, and the hurting person we keep locked away in the dark. This internal division is where the deepest exhaustion comes from. It takes an incredible amount of daily effort to keep that hurting part of you hidden. When you finally choose to meet yourself, you are choosing to bridge that gap. You are deciding to unlock the door and sit down next to your pain, your tiredness, and your overwhelm. You look at your weary reflection, and instead of offering judgment or disappointment, you offer compassion. You treat yourself with the same tenderness you would give to a dear friend who has traveled a long, punishing distance just to reach your doorstep. Meeting yourself means learning to listen to the quiet language of your body. For months, it may have been sending you subtle signals, a nagging ache, a sudden wave of emotion, or a profound lack of focus. When you cultivate the courage to stop and listen, you begin to understand that these are not signs of failure. They are messages. Your body is trying to tell you that the life you are currently living is costing you too much. It is an invitation to realign, to step away from the expectations that do not serve you, and to reclaim ownership of your time and peace. If you are standing at this crossroads today, terrified of what you will find if you finally slow down, take comfort in knowing that you are not emptying yourself out. You are making room to be refilled. Falling apart is sometimes the only way we can rebuild ourselves into something stronger and more authentic. You do not have to be strong today. You do not have to have the answers. You only need the willingness to stop running, to turn around, and to gently welcome yourself back home. Think about how much energy it takes to hold up a heavy shield every single day. We carry armor made of expectations, old habits, and the need to please everyone around us. We smile when we want to cry, and we say yes to extra projects when we desperately need to say no. This armor might have protected you in the past, but right now, it is the very thing weighing you down. Your physical system is exhausted because it is spending all its resources just holding that heavy metal in place, terrified of what will happen if you finally lay it down on the ground. When you wear armor for too long, it ceases to be something you wear and starts to feel like who you are. You become the reliable one, the strong one, the person who never complains and always figures out a way to get things done. People look at you and marvel at how well you handle everything. They say things like, "I don't know how you do it." They mean it as a compliment, but to your tired soul, it feels like a life sentence. Every piece of praise only welds the armor tighter to your chest, making you feel like you are trapped inside a suit of iron, unable to breathe, unable to reach out, and unable to ask for help. The cost of this armor is incredibly high, and you are paying for it with your health, your peace, and your vitality. Your nervous system is constantly working behind the scenes, burning through its precious energy reserves just to keep up appearances. It takes massive effort to maintain a calm exterior when your insides are twisting into knots. It is physically draining to force your voice to stay steady when you feel like screaming or crying from sheer fatigue. You are running a marathon every single day, but because you are doing it invisibly under a heavy metal shell, nobody else can see the sweat or the strain. We build defenses to keep the world from hurting us, but we forget that the very same walls keep the warmth of life from reaching us. Living inside this protective casing isolates you from the very comfort you need. When people try to care for you, their kindness bounces right off your shield. You brush off their offers of help, saying, "Don't worry, I've got it covered." You minimize your own suffering because you are terrified that if you show a single crack in your defense, the whole structure will collapse. You become a fortress, impenetrable, safe from external threats, but completely cold, lonely, and suffocating on the inside. You are surviving, yes, but you are not truly alive. This constant strain leaves your muscles chronically tight and your breath permanently shallow. Your body is locked in a defensive posture, ready to deflect the next demand, the next expectation, or the next criticism. Over time, the weight of the shield begins to warp your view of reality. You start to see every interaction as a test of your strength, believing that your worth as a human being is tied entirely to how much pressure you can tolerate before you break. But you were never meant to be a statue of endurance. You are a living, breathing person who needs softness, vulnerability, and rest. If you are feeling the crushing weight of your armor today, I want you to know that it is safe to start unbuckling the straps. Laying down your shield doesn't mean you are giving up. It means you are choosing to live. It looks like allowing yourself to say, "I am overwhelmed, and I need help." It looks like letting someone else take care of a detail, even if they don't do it perfectly. It looks like allowing your tears to flow when the pressure gets to be too much. The world will not fall apart if you let go of your shield. The people who truly love you don't want to connect with a flawless suit of armor anyway. They want to connect with you in all your beautiful, tired, and fragile humanity. Healing an overworked system does not require a massive, dramatic life overhaul. It begins in the smallest, most ordinary moments. It is the choice to sit in your car for 2 extra minutes after you park, just listening to the silence. It is letting your shoulders drop away from your ears while you wait for water to boil. It is allowing your eyes to rest on a tree outside your window instead of forcing them to stare at another screen. These tiny spaces of stillness are invitations for your body to finally step off the treadmill and take a breath. When we are caught in the grip of chronic exhaustion, our minds are almost always living in the future or dragging us back into the past. We are constantly anticipating the next task, calculating how much energy we have left, or regretting how little we accomplished yesterday. This constant time travel keeps our bodies in a state of perpetual tension. Softening into the present means making a gentle pact with yourself to just be where your feet are, even if only for 60 seconds. It is the act of bringing your scattered awareness back to the immediate room you are sitting in, the chair supporting your weight, and the air moving in and out of your lungs. This softening is not an aggressive act of forcing yourself to meditate or clearing your mind of all thoughts. It is much gentler than that. It is an loosening of the grip. It is noticing how tightly you are holding the steering wheel while driving down a quiet street, and intentionally relaxing your fingers. It is realizing how hard you are pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth and letting it drop. It is looking at a cup of tea in your hands and actually tasting the warmth rather than gulping it down while worrying about a schedule. These are tiny acts of defiance against a world that demands your constant acceleration. True restoration happens when we stop treating the current moment as a stepping stone to the next obligation. When you allow yourself to soften, you begin to realize that the present moment is often far safer and quieter than the stories your anxious mind is telling you. Your mind might be screaming about everything that needs to get done by tomorrow, but right now, in this exact second, you are simply sitting on a sofa. The room is warm, and you are safe. By narrowing your focus to just what is happening right here, right now, you give your nervous system a chance to realize that it doesn't need to fight for survival in this very moment. You create a tiny sanctuary of peace in the middle of a chaotic day. This process can feel incredibly uncomfortable at first because we are so addicted to the rush of adrenaline. When we slow down, we might feel a sudden wave of restlessness or anxiety, as if we are doing something wrong by just existing. We have been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to our movement. But softening is a practice of unlearning that false belief. It is reminding yourself that you are allowed to just sit. You are allowed to listen to the sound of rain against the glass without feeling guilty that you aren't fixing something. You are allowed to feel the texture of a blanket against your skin, and let that be enough. If you are trying to find your way back to balance, stop looking for a grand cure at the end of a long journey. Look for the small pockets of softness available to you right now. Let your gaze soften. Let your breathing become a fraction deeper. Let go of the need to control how the next hour unfolds. Every time you consciously pull your mind back from the frantic horizon and plant it firmly in the simplicity of the present, you are sending a profound signal to your body that it is safe to relax. You are building a bridge of moments, one breath at a time, that will eventually carry you out of the storm and back into your own life. When we are stuck in this cycle, we often feel angry at our bodies for letting us down. We treat our exhaustion as an enemy to be conquered. Jung observed that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In this context, that means looking directly at your fatigue without judgment. Instead of fighting the tiredness, what happens if you sit with it? What if that heavy feeling is not a punishment, but a fierce, protective mechanism trying to save you from pushing yourself past the point of no return? For so long, you have probably viewed your tiredness as a personal failure. You look at your exhaustion in the mirror, and you feel a wave of frustration, thinking, why can't I just pull myself together? Why do I feel so broken? We try to bully ourselves into being energetic. We drink more caffeine, we force ourselves to power through, and we scold our bodies for needing rest. But this internal battle only adds more stress to an already melting circuit board. When you fight your fatigue, you are fighting yourself. You are rejecting a part of your own being that is crying out for your help and attention. Embracing the shadow of your fatigue means changing the way you talk to your tiredness. It means changing your posture from one of combat to one of curiosity. Instead of wishing the heavy blanket of exhaustion would just vanish, you gently lift the edge and sit underneath it. You ask your tiredness, what are you trying to tell me? What have you been protecting me from? When you stop treating your fatigue like a flaw, you begin to see that it is actually a profound wisdom. Your body is doing exactly what it needs to do to keep you whole. It has pulled the emergency brake because you refused to slow down on your own. The parts of ourselves that we try hardest to push away are often the very parts holding the keys to our healing. When we make this darkness conscious, we start to uncover the hidden truths beneath our exhaustion. We realize that the fatigue isn't just about a lack of sleep. It is about the emotional weight we have been carrying in secret. It is the exhaustion of keeping up a brave face when your heart was breaking. It is the tiredness of pretending a difficult situation didn't bother you. Your fatigue is a physical record of every single thing you have survived, but never had the time to properly process. It is your body finally saying, we cannot carry these unsaid words and unfelt sorrows anymore. We must rest. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating, but it requires a massive dose of humility. It means letting go of the ego that wants to be invincible and accepting your human limitations. It means looking at your empty tank and saying, it makes complete sense that I am this tired. Look at what I have been through. When you offer yourself this kind of understanding, the internal conflict stops. You are no longer wasting precious energy fighting your own biology. You stop trying to manufacture a fake spark and instead allow yourself to exist in the quiet twilight of your recovery. If you are feeling completely defeated by your fatigue today, I invite you to stop trying to force the light back into your life prematurely. Do not rush to fix yourself. Let the tiredness be there, Let it heavy your limbs and quiet your tongue. Your body is not a broken machine. It is a wise, self-regulating system that knows exactly when to call a timeout. By leaning into the shadow of your fatigue rather than running from it, you are finally giving yourself permission to stop performing. You are honoring the natural seasons of your life, trusting that this winter of exhaustion is paving the way for a gentle, authentic spring to arrive when the time is right. To truly heal, we have to look at the rhythm of our daily routines. Look at how you move through your morning. Are you rushing out the door, gulping down coffee, and immediately diving into demands? Notice how you spend your evenings. Are you filling the quiet with noise just to avoid the echo of your own thoughts? Shifting this rhythm doesn't mean changing your entire career or moving away. It means injecting small, intentional pauses into the chaos. It means giving yourself permission to move a little slower, to speak a little softer, and to let things be imperfect. When you are living with a completely depleted nervous system, your routine often feels like a conveyor belt that you can't step off. From the moment you open your eyes, you are reacting to the world instead of participating in your own life. You might find yourself waking up to an aggressive alarm, immediately checking your schedule, and letting a wave of anticipation flood your body before you've even had a glass of water. This frantic rhythm creates a baseline of panic for the rest of your day. Your body starts the morning in a defensive crouch, and it stays there until you collapse back into bed at night. Rewriting this rhythm is an act of gentle reclamation. It begins by looking at the transitions in your day, the spaces between doing one thing and starting another. Instead of jumping straight from a finished task into a new project, what if you gave yourself a 90-second buffer? What if you took 3 slow, deliberate breaths before answering a ringing phone or opening a door? These are not massive structural changes to your schedule. They are internal resets. They are small anchors you drop into the rushing river of your afternoon to remind your body that it does not need to drown in the current. The melody of a peaceful life is not determined by how fast we play the notes, but by how much space we allow between them. Look closely at your evenings, at that fragile time when the sun goes down and the external world finally stops asking things of you. For many of us, this is when the hidden exhaustion catches up. And because it feels so heavy, we instinctively try to drown it out. We flip through channels, we clean things that don't need cleaning, or we replay the day's conversations over and over in our minds. We treat the end of the day like a continuation of the race. Rewriting your rhythm means learning the art of winding down. It means allowing the house to grow dim, letting the noise fade, and giving yourself permission to do absolutely nothing productive. This shift requires you to make peace with incompletion. When you have a history of pushing yourself, there is a loud voice that says, "You can't rest until everything is finished." But the truth is, the work is never truly finished. There will always be another task, another errand, another problem to solve. If you wait for an empty to-do list before you allow yourself to breathe, you will be waiting forever. Rewriting your rhythm means choosing to walk away from an uncompleted project because your well-being matters more than a check-it box. It means letting the dishes sit in the sink for the night because your body needs the sofa more than the kitchen needs to be spotless. If you are trying to reshape your days, start by slowing down your physical movements. Walk through your living room a little more slowly. Pour your water with deliberation. Listen to the sound of your own footsteps. When we consciously slow down our bodies, our minds eventually follow. You are teaching your nervous system a completely new vocabulary, one that isn't based on urgency, pressure, or survival. You are creating a life that has room for your humanity, a daily cadence that respects your limitations and honors your need for stillness. You are building a rhythm that doesn't require you to break down just to get a moment of peace. You cannot heal if you keep letting the outside world drain your remaining reserves. Setting boundaries is not about being cold or pushing people away. It is about protecting the small amount of energy you have left so you can rebuild. It looks like telling a friend, "I really want to catch up, but I don't have the energy for a long dinner tonight. Can we walk around the block instead?" It looks like putting your phone in another room an hour before you sleep. Every time you say a gentle no to an external demand, you are saying a profound yes to your own recovery. When your nervous system is exhausted, your boundaries are usually the first thing to erode. You become porous. You absorb everyone else's stress, everyone else's expectations, and everyone else's emergencies, because you simply don't have the strength to hold the door shut. You feel a deep, painful guilt at the mere thought of letting someone down. You worry that if you aren't constantly available, helpful, and accommodating, you will lose your value in their eyes. So, you keep giving from an empty cup, handing out pieces of yourself until there is absolutely nothing left for you. Learning the gentle art of boundary setting means recognizing that your energy is a finite resource. It is a sacred reservoir that requires protection. When you are deeply depleted, boundaries are no longer a luxury or a lifestyle choice. They are medical necessities for your soul. It means looking at a request, even a well-meaning one, and asking yourself honestly, do I actually have the currency to pay for this right now? If the answer is no, it is your responsibility to honor that truth. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, mean, or unkind. It simply means you are choosing to respect your own human limits. A boundary is not a wall to keep people out. It is a doorway that allows you to decide who and what is invited into your peace. The secret to this practice lies in the word gentle. We often think that setting a boundary requires a massive confrontation or an angry speech. But true boundaries are quiet. They don't need to be shouted, and they don't need to be defended with a long list of excuses. You do not owe anyone an elaborate story about why you cannot attend an event or take on another favor. A simple, honest statement is enough. It sounds like, I would love to help, but I just don't have the capacity for this right now. When you speak your truth with softness, you leave no room for argument, and you preserve the precious energy you would have spent fighting. This process will feel incredibly uncomfortable at first. Your chest might tighten the first time you decline an invitation, and you might spend hours replaying the conversation, wondering if they are angry with you. That discomfort is normal. It is just the old, people-pleasing part of you resisting the change. But as you practice, you will notice a strange thing happen. The people who truly love and respect you will not walk away. They will understand. In fact, they will often feel relieved that you are taking care of yourself, because it gives them permission to do the same. If you are struggling to protect your peace today, start with the smallest boundaries imaginable. Let a phone call go to voicemail when you are right in the middle of a quiet moment. Wait an hour to reply to a non-urgent text message. Tell your family that you need 30 minutes of quiet time in your room without any interruptions. Each small boundary is a brick you are laying down to build a sanctuary around your tired heart. You are teaching the world how to treat you by showing them how you treat yourself. You are declaring that your health, your rest, and your healing are worth protecting, no matter what. This journey of restoration is slow, and it is rarely a straight line. There will be days when you feel a spark of your old self return, followed by days where you feel incredibly heavy again. That is completely normal. You are relearning how to inhabit your life without constantly defending yourself against it. As you move forward, remember that you don't have to fight your way back to health. You simply have to step back, let go of the struggle, and allow your system the time, space, and gentleness it needs to remember how to rest. When you have been running on empty for months or years, the return of your vitality does not happen like a sudden flash of lightning. It happens quietly, like the slow turning of a season. You will notice it first in the tiniest details. You might find yourself driving down a familiar road and suddenly realizing that you are actually looking at the sky instead of just staring blankly ahead. You might hear a song you haven't thought about in years and feel a faint desire to sing along. Or perhaps you will wake up one morning and notice that the heavy, crushing dread in your stomach has softened into a quiet, manageable stillness. These small moments are signs that your nervous system is finally starting to feel safe enough to come out of hiding. We often make the mistake of trying to force our recovery. We want to rush the process, demanding that our bodies perform at their old levels the moment we start to feel a little bit better. But reclaiming your vitality requires a deep, abiding patience with your own rhythm. If you try to sprint the moment you find your footing, you will only trip and find yourself right back where you started. True healing means honoring the days when your energy is low, just as much as the days when your spirit is high. It means learning to treat yourself with a soft, steady kindness that does not depend on how much you accomplished today. The goal of recovery is not to become an unbreakable machine that never gets tired. It is to become a living person who knows how to honor their own exhaustion. As you step into this new way of living, you will realize that you are not actually trying to rebuild the person you used to be before you broke down. That person was running on an unsustainable pace, carrying weights they were never meant to hold. Instead, you are creating someone entirely new. You are building a version of yourself that knows how to listen when a sigh escapes your lips. A version that knows when to put down the work and walk away. And a version that understands that your worth is completely independent of your productivity. You are reclaiming a life where your peace is non-negotiable. This path is an invitation to fall in love with the quiet simplicity of your existence. It is finding a profound sense of satisfaction in a quiet afternoon, a warm conversation, or a long, uninterrupted night of sleep. You begin to see that the world does not require your constant panic to keep spinning. You can trust the flow of your life. You can trust that it is safe to lower your defenses, to breathe all the way down into your stomach, and to let yourself be supported by the space around you. You are no longer just surviving the hours. You are beginning to inhabit them. If you are standing at the end of this reflection, still feeling the lingering weight of your long winter, please take heart. Your spark is not gone forever. It is merely resting beneath the surface, waiting for the ground to soften. You have survived the hardest parts of the storm, and you are still here. You don't need to force the sun to come out. Just continue to offer yourself small pockets of rest, gentle boundaries, and unconditional kindness. Slowly but surely, your body will remember how to thrive. Your heart will remember how to beat without fear. And you will walk back into your life with a deep, quiet vitality that can never be taken away from you. Healing is not about fixing a broken version of yourself, because you were never broken to begin with. You were just carrying weights that were never meant for human shoulders to bear alone. As you close this chapter and step back into the flow of your days, carry this gentleness with you like a quiet promise. Protect your peace fiercely, but move through the world softly. Trust that your vitality will return in its own time, not through fighting or forcing, but through the simple, brave act of letting go. You are worthy of rest. You are worthy of ease, and you are entirely enough, just as you are right now, in this very breath.